It was marvelous for me and my family to visit the cathedral in Barcelona this week. The most magnificent cathedral I've ever seen in my life, and the size of it, the scale of it, the level of detail and definition, and just the effort and time that must have gone into planning that and building it and devising it in such an intricate, such a beautiful, such a magnificent way. The level of attention to detail and to precision. And I was really impressed, of course, by the legacy of the life of Jesus Christ and his apostles and the saints, those who gave their lives to his cause. And that, of course, that cause is represented in stone. It's placed in a concrete form to give us a reminder of the legacy that we have been left by the Lord Jesus Christ and his apostles and the saints and those who believe in his name and gave their lives, who suffered and sacrificed for his cause. As we've studied this year in the New Testament, we have been reminded that particularly the apostles, Christ and the apostles and those who are deeply engaged in his work, suffered greatly for his cause. But they showed triumph, they showed victory, they showed legacy of determination, they showed resilience and devotion to his cause, a sense of dedication that is worthy of emulation, that is deserving of remembrance. It's the sort of legacy that we ought to hold on to cling to. A legacy of suffering that's not without meaning, that's not without significance, that a life of difficulty and challenge leaves a mark. It leaves an inscription, not simply in stone, but also in the memories of others, in the minds of others, in the writings on a page, in the values of a nation, in the legal systems, in our cultural modes of thought, and in our expressions of goodness, in our expressions of sacrifice, in our willingness to serve, in our divine affection for others, in the family and in society. And so I was really reminded of the legacy of faith, the legacy of righteousness that comes in the midst of difficulty, that greatness is born in struggle, from challenge, from pain, from sorrow, from suffering, from a cause, from a righteous cause, and particularly the greatest cause of all, which is the cause of Christ and his work. And of course, in this day and age, in the time of the restored gospel, where we have prophets and apostles again in our day and time, where we have Joseph and Hiram and all the other prophets and apostles, Brigham and Heber C. Kimball and John Taylor and Wilford Woodruff and Lorenzo Snow and many others, and of course all the way down to now, our first presidency, President Nelson, President Oakes, President Irving, President Holland, and the other brethren, where we have that, a renewed legacy, where we have a new commission, and we have that new feeling, and that new work, and that new delegation, if I can use that word, that sense that the truth has been restored, that the commission has been given again, that the cause has been re-established. And so yes, there is much difficulty and much struggle, but there's also much triumph, and the legacy in all the temples that we're building. They are a tangible evidence of the greatness of the work in which we are engaged as saints of the Most High, and we invite all the people of the world to join in that cause on both sides of the veil, to have an eternal legacy an eternal remembrance of things that are sacred and divine, the things of most worth, the things that rise above, the things that outshine the shadows, the truths and principles and precepts and values that weather the storm, that aren't just culturally contingent, they aren't just transitory, they aren't with us for a moment, but they have eternal longevity. They span the ages, they reach across time, they reach across nations, cultures, kindreds, tongues and people. They speak of eternal truth. And so I was really struck by that, to look up to that cathedral, to reach up, to stretch up, to have an increased understanding of the legacy, that a legacy that ought not to be forgotten. That is really important, that we understand these things, that we value them, that we come to reflect on them and participate and practice in these principles, and not let them belong only to a bygone era, but that we latch on to these truths of timeless value. And so the everlasting gospel does that for me. The message of Christ is the cause of the ages, the greatest fellowship, the greatest truth, and the most important and magnificent work. So how grateful I am to have been here, to have been able to reflect on these things and treasure these things up in my mind and my heart and my soul, and to discuss them and talk about them and share with others those things. And as we do that, as we share our thoughts and our deepest feelings and our most grateful love and our most deep longing for eternal beauty, for eternal truth, for the sculpting of a life divine, for our own recreation in the image and likeness of God, to be morphed more into the character of Christ. That's a beautiful thing. That's a thing worth living for. It's a thing worth remembering. It's something worth expounding on and sharing and valuing highly. How grateful I am. Let us remember and never forget the things that have been given to us, that have been offered to us, and particularly as Latter-day Saints, to remember that we have a legacy and a commission that's to go to all the world, to renew the world in righteousness. How grateful I am for these precious and marvelous and wondrous things.